رسول الله وآله وصحبه وسلم. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, our topic tonight is about the journey of the human being along with Islam. We will tackle quickly what Islam gives, us as humans, gives everybody, as far as everything. Just to know that Islam is a way of life, and it provides, instructions, guidelines for everything in our life, regulates and facilitates everything in our life. Well, to start, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about the human being in the Quran. Quran is telling us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Indeed, we honored the children of Adam. Human beings are created, honored. This is a special creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This special creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is compounded of too many things, and so many variables affect his life. It's not like the simple life that we live. We are a combination of soul, ruh, body, and we have so many fa'ulat, so many things that go on, interactions. So we're able to love, we're able to hate, we're able to feel, we're able to have different kinds of things. Special creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, let's start from the very beginning all the way to the end of life. What does Islam give us for humanity? Well, from the very beginning, Islam will tell both parents, the spouses, to choose each other correctly. Islam will tell the boy, the man, to choose a good wife, a good girl, a good woman, not any woman, for marriage. And he will tell the same for the sisters, for the women, to choose a good person. تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ. You accept it, you approve. The Prophet ﷺ said, the person that will approve of his khuluq, character, manners, وَأَمَانَتَهُ, his trust and his deen. So if this is the case, accept his proposal for marriage. And also the Prophet ﷺ will tell us, as we all are aware of the hadith, when he said to the men, women can be married for either one or more or four things. Beauty is one of them, lineage and family is one of them, money, wealth, one of them. But he said, وَلِدِينِهَا, and also it could be married for her religion, for being good, religious person. فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ. So get and win the one of the deen, the religious girl. So it's given us an instruction to choose, because we're choosing for ourselves, and we're choosing the future father of my kids, or the future mother of my kids, the future grandfather of my great-great-grandchildren. That's your choice that you are making now. So you shouldn't be taking it easy. You should choose the best person, because in Islam, marriage is a very respectable, important institution. It's not a quick decision that you have to make. That's why we have engagement, khitbah before marriage. You take your time, talk to each other, look at each other, make sure that this is the person that you want as partner for life, and choose based on good, grounds. So, if this is the case, everybody chose his spouse and they start the life. Well, Islam will pay so much attention to you when you are in the womb of your mother. You still not yet came to this life. Abortion in Islam is killing. I'm not talking about the very deep details, like if it's a life-threatening for the mother, that's a different story. But just somebody, a mother or a father or a spouse decided we don't want to have a child at this point. We cannot afford. Yes, you can do this earlier by having any means of marriage, birth control. But since it becomes a haml or pregnancy, even if it's still inside you, You have no control over that because you did not give him or her life. That's life from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we read in al-fiqh al-Islami, the rules, the Islamic jurisprudence, that you will have some punishments close, very close, if not similar to punishments against the violation. Like if you cause this, the death of this, like if somebody hit a pregnant lady and then that caused miscarriage, there is a big punishment for that. So Islam respects this life. You are very much respected as you are still a fetus in the womb of your mother. Then you come to life. Islam will tell us that you have to be happy about that. There is sunnah, something you get your word by, which is celebrate this baby, aqiqah. We don't have baby shower in Islam, but the concept is similar. That doesn't happen before, but after we do the aqiqah, which is we sacrifice, as we all know, for the sake of Allah, and we invite people and we cook food, and that's one thing that Islam gives you. He tells your family to be happy about you and that they will get hasanat about that. Some people at the beginning of Islam, they used to be very, very sad when they get girls. وَإِذَا بُشِّرَ أَحَدُهُمْ بِالْأُنثَى ظَلَّ وَجْهُهُ مُسْوَدًّا. When a father, when any of them used to get the tidings or the news that he got a baby girl, his face will be very dark and he frowned because, that's a very, very bad thing for them. No, Islam tells us later on that if you have 3 girls, take good care of them, you have a free ticket to Al-Jannah. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. Somebody said, Ya Rasulullah, about 2. He said 2. 1, even 1. You, having a girl, take good care. Bring her up correctly. He said he will be in Jannah. Why? He didn't say this for a boy, by the way. He didn't say this if you have a boy. Why? Because if you raise a good girl, you raise a good mother. We all know that's the reality. I'm talking about myself, and I think that's the case of everybody. The one that affected me, and I guess most of us, if not all of us, most was our mothers. Talking about myself. I mean, it doesn't mean that my father didn't do anything to me, no. But my mother was number 1 ever. And I guess most of us are the same. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, getting to heaven, تحت أقدام أمهاتكم ثم قدميها فلزم قدميها فثم الجنة. Be at her feet, under her feet if you want, because Jannah is right there. Which means that listen to her, respect her, all of these good things. And the person, another hadith asked the Prophet ﷺ, who deserved to be the closest to me, to be my best friend? He said, your mother. Then, who's next? He said, your mother. Third, who is next? Your mother. So the first 3 places are, reserved for the mother that deserve to be your best friend. Usually in any competition, they go by the first 3 places. After that, it's just 4. Then who is next? Number 4, your father. Doesn't mean he's neglected. No, but that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said things. So Islam is telling us if you got a girl, you got to be very happy. You got a chance to get to Jannah. That's one thing. You grow up, Islam will tell before you grow up, Islam will tell you your family to choose a good name for you. This is something that will stick with you forever. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam one time, somebody asked somebody, what's your name? He said, Sakhr, which means a rock. That was a common name in Arabia at this time, and still until nowadays some people. But this is not like a good name. Somebody, he called, what's your name? Is Harb, which means, in Arabic means war. He didn't like these names. So, but when somebody tells him, for example, at the time of Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, he was signing a treaty of peace with Quraysh. They sent their representative by the name of Suhail. Suhail means from sand, which means easy. So he said he got a good almond in this, and he said, inshallah, it's going to be sad. It's going to be easy. So Islam tells us to choose good name. A good name, in my view, will be a name that fits him or her in their time. Because some names, they are good, but for the 40s, 50s, 60s. I don't have examples in my mind, but culture is always You know, changing, and what used to be very fashionable, good, in the 80s or 90s is not now, is not necessarily, maybe very outdated and maybe sometimes bad. So you choose something that will stick for them. And we read in Islam, in the Islamic history, at the time of Umar. Who was Umar Qudri? Very easy, but just to refresh. Who was Umar? Any piece of information about Umar? No? You say something and she said something else.
Umar ibn Khattab, he was one of the, like when he became Muslim, it was a huge strength for Islam.
Very strong person. What else? Number? 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? Number 2. After the Prophet came Abu Bakr and then Umar. So Umar was Khalifa number 2, the Caliphate or the second ruler of the believers after the Prophet, and one of the second best friend of the Prophet ﷺ. At his time, he was very known for being extremely just. Somebody came to him, a father, he said, "Oh, commander of the believers, my son is giving me a hard time, and he complained about his son, mentioned a lot of things." Then Umar, even though he was in charge of Saudi Arabia nowadays, Qatar, all the way to Lebanon and Jordan and Egypt and Yemen and Emirates and Oman and Kuwait and Iraq and Syria, all of these was under him, under Umar. He was, involved in counseling, marriage counseling, in solving a problem between a father and his son. These little things, as well as big things like wars and stuff. So this person came to me and said, "Ya Umar, Amir al-Mu'mineen, my son is giving me a time," and he complained about him. He summoned the son. He called him, "Come." He said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen." He chose, and he mentioned some bad things about his mother. She was not a good person at all. So he said, "This is the kind of mother he chose for me." And he gave me Sammani Ju'lan. He gave me a very bad name. In Arabic, Ju'l means like wasp, the kind of bug or something, which is very nasty name. And usually if somebody is called like this, he will be growing up, everybody's laughing at him, making fun of him and stuff like this. So قال اذهب فقد عاقبته قبل أن يعوقك. He said to his father, "Go back. You give him hard time, or you did him bad before he did you bad. You start doing that." So Islam is telling us to choose good names. We would recommend Abdullah, Abdul Rahman, things that are attached with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, servant of Allah, servant of and so on. When it's time for a father to give gifts, for example, or mother, parents to give gifts, Islam is telling us to be equal. Whatever we give to him, we have to give to her. Whatever, we have to be equal. Even as far as kissing, believe it or not. Excuse me?
No better.
Better? Why?
No, same, no better.
It's okay, you can just leave it. Anyway, so Islam will tell us that you have to be equal and just in giving even of gifts, even kissing. You cannot keep kissing somebody and hugging somebody and then ignoring the other one. No. One day, one of the companions, Bashir, he came to the Prophet and he said, "Ya Rasulullah, I just want you to be my witness. I have a little contract here. What is it? This is I think it was a piece of land or something he was giving to his son, big money or land or something." And he said, "I just want you to be my witness." He said, "All right. Did you give?" He knew that he had other children. He said, "You give all of your children, everybody, the same?" He said, "No." He said, "All right. Well, you go to somebody else and ask him to be a witness, because I cannot be a witness for jawr, which is dhulm, which is oppression. That's oppression. That's not right. Injustice. I cannot be a witness for that." So when you give gifts, Islam pays. It's part of our deen. Nowadays, that's very fine rules and etiquettes and manners that we study in college or something, or experts tell us how to deal with the kids. Islam is paying attention to these such fine things. Even the way you deal with them, your approach, your attitude with them. If you laugh to him, you have to laugh to her. If you kiss him, you kiss her. You have to deal with them, in an equal way. The Prophet ﷺ is our example, right? The way he dealt with his kids and great and grand kids was such marvelous. He was giving them hope and teaching them to be leaders. So one day he was talking about Al-Hasan, his grandson, and he said, "Inna ibni hada sayyid." Indeed, my son, in Arabic, ibni means my son or grandson, is the same. So this, my grandson, he will be a leader. And yes, it was a prophecy from the Prophet, yes, but he is mentioning it in front of them, and guess what? He became a leader, an elected leader. He was not appointed or chosen because of this word. No, he was really elected by people to be a leader. Because the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam raised him to be like this, to have self-confidence and to always think of himself. He will tell us, for example, that we need to deal with them as mature people. I mean, like not all the time, but make them feel they are separate human beings. And so he will tell us, for example, not to lie for them. And if you lie for the kids, that counts against you. One day, as we probably knew the hadith before, a lady, like she pointed to her little kid or something, "Come here and I give you this, a date, a dry date, something like candy nowadays. Just come here and I give you this candy, or do this, I give you the candy." Well, the Prophet ﷺ watched this. She came to her, she gave her the date. He said, "Well, let me tell you something. If you had not given it to her, it would have been counted as a lie against you." So he was teaching. That happens. We see it amongst Muslims that they think they are kids. They don't know. They catch much more things than you catch yourself. This is the point in time that they catch and report everything you are doing. So you are teaching them that you can lie and call it anything else. I was just kidding. I was just, no, that's a lie. Even if you lie for them, it will count as a lie. Now, then they grow up a little bit. Islam will teach us that you are responsible for them. That's your best of investment. There is time to teach. You teach them prayer at the age of, question, 10? 7? At the age of 7, start teaching them. That, well, it doesn't mean that you will start then. Actually, there is a very early start, but it's not going to come direct. Like you tell them, "Come with me, let's pray." No. They see you praying, they will join you. Automatically join you. They see you doing whatever, they will do like you. So you got to lead by example. But then when it's at the age of 7, kids will be kind of, they know what's going on. So you start teaching them. It's not obligatory on them until they are not even 10, until they reach the age of puberty, which is around 12, 13, 14, 15. We have some signs that we discussed and we can discuss later. It's not going to be obligatory, but you have to start teaching them, so they will practice it and it will be part of their life. That means from 7 to what age you are teaching? That you start, giving them hard time, disciplining them, questioning them if they did not pray. 10. 7 to 10. The Prophet said, teach your kids at the age to pray at the age of 7, and then discipline them at the age of 10. Meaning, as far as prayer, you start counting things. Did you pray for me? No. Why? So you take 3 years that they can probably pray one time, not the other. They are sick, or whatever they don't. So you start training them. At the age of 7 is different from the age of 8. You keep improving. Then 9, then they are 10 now. So you start not going all the way to, they are not yet, it's not obligatory on them, but you take it to a higher level of questioning them. Why? And then the best way, why didn't you pray, or whatever. So that's what Islam is teaching us. One of the good words, I think Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said, لَعِبُهُمْ سَبْعًا. You play with them for the first 7 years, meaning you're not going to teach them nothing, or no, but the approach you'll be using with them at the first 7 years of their age is going to be more like a fun, playing. It's going to be these little things because they are still very young. وَصَاحِبُوهُمْ سَبْعًا, and then befriend them the next 7 years, so from 7 to 14. That's not a hadith or anything, but this is one of the wisdoms of Sayyidina Ali. Then you befriend them, deal with them as friends for the next 7 years until they are 14 or so. And then then the rest of life you leave them. Like, I mean, give them more of a chance. It's not like, you're going to be screening, and definitely you're going to be having some kind of relationship, but it's not like he's not going to be accepting from you very much as far as teaching, and this is what you do, and this is what you don't know, what you don't do beyond this stage. Now, well, you see the Prophet ﷺ also, as far as kids, you see him, that happened, that's the reality. You see him stopping the khutbah on Friday, for example. Stopping, he was in the minbar, he stops. Why? And he got out of the minbar, the place he was giving khutbah, the pulpit. Because he saw his grandson coming, and he was running, and he was little trembling and trying to run, and then, fall down. So he came down, and he got him, and he hugged him, and so on. Then he came back to continue his khutbah. That's how. One time he was praying, Jama'ah, and he's the imam, and then his grandson is riding on his back. And people did not know, but they just noticed the Prophet ﷺ is taking too long in sujood. It's going on and on and on, and he doesn't raise up what happened. They don't know. But then after Salah, he explained to them, my son, or my grandson just rode over me, and I hated to hurt him, so that's why. It was not like 1 or 2 or 3 situations, it was always there. Not only his son, one day, for example, he heard a child crying from the sister side. So he was taking too long in the first 2 rak'ah. But once he heard this child crying, he was fasting, making the salah very fast. They asked him, Ya Rasulullah, we heard, we noticed that you made the salah so fast in the second part. Why? He said, I heard somebody crying, and I hated that the mother would be, not focusing on salah. So I just wanted to finish as quick as possible. So he's paying attention, alayhi to the kids, accommodating them in the masjid, paying attention to the mothers and to everybody, alayhi. Now, so Islam is always telling us, we read in the history, how to raise up our kids to be leaders in the future, to be good citizens, good people for the future. And it was not, again, like 1 or 2 examples. You see Usama ibn Zayd, somebody, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will appoint him to be the leader of an army, the Muslim army, that will go fight against the Romans and big superpowers at this time. And Usama was 16 or 17 years old. Some narrations even that he was younger than this. So 16, 17 years old will be the leader, the major, whatever you do. That's going to be leading? Yes. The Prophet appointed him, alayhi salatu wassalam. He will sometimes allow kids, literally kids, to attend meetings on higher levels, leaders and so on, sitting with them. He will allow them to attend and so on. Then if you grow up and so on, Islam will teach you, give you rules and instructions and guidelines for marriage, for everything. He will, teach us that marriage is about second or, tranquility and repose. You'll find your right spouse, so you will find love and mercy and affection and all of these things. And Islam respects this relationship so much. But nowadays, unfortunately, we see people not deciding to get married until they are very old or something. They look at marriage as a burden. They look at marriage. No, Islam is teaching us this is no nature of human beings. You do it in a halal way. If you don't do it in a halal way, you do it in a haram. You have this tendency towards the opposite gender. Even if, marriage did not work out or something, there is the divorce in Islam. And divorce is not a word to be pronounced at times of, when you are sad, when you are in a quarrel or disputing. No. Is a decision to be made, a decision to cut a relationship that's so much respected in Islam. That's why we read in the Quran, if it happens, it should happen bil-ma'ruf. You keep them in good way, kind way, or in a perfect way. Things happen. You might see two people that got together, maybe even lived together for a long time, but they discover they are not good match to each other. They decide to, or even one of them decides she doesn't want to continue anymore. There is a solution. Divorce for the man. Ask him for divorce in the woman's side from the husband, and if he refuses, there are other ways in Islam that she can get out of this religion. There is nothing that can go on against her will, as long as she has a valid reason to get out of it. And the same for the man. You grow older, even Islam will teach us that respecting elders, those of gray hair or so, is equal to respecting Allah. That's one hadith. Part of your respect for Allah is to respect the elders. So it's teaching us to take care of starting with our parents, for example. It's not because they grow old or they don't have any source of income and they need a lot of, somebody to take care of them from A to Z, especially if they grow older and older, and they need a lot of care, and usually that's a full-time job and it needs money and stuff. No, Islam makes it obligation on us. It was never known in Islam, the nursing, homes and these places that you send your parents and then just to please yourself, you pay for somebody to take care of them. Well, nobody paid unfortunately some mothers nowadays pay other people to take care of you, to babysit you or whatever. This shouldn't happen. Mothers should take care of their kids, and kids should pay back when it's time to do that at all the time. If you cannot, afford your mother or father anymore, do you think that others will do it? I know that they do it professionally and everything, but they don't. The parents at this time, they don't want just like good place and good medical care. They need much more than this. They need love and affection, and they need their blood, their children, to be worried about them, to ask about them, just to be close to them, not to. Islam is teaching us obligation. Number one, Allah. Number two, bil-walidayni ihsan. Your parents comes after Allah. That's number two obligation in Islam. Now, not only the elders, we talk about parents in general, elders in general, teachers, anybody who taught you anything, anybody who did you a favor, that's an obligation in Islam to respect, to do good. So Islam is around us all the time. That's the specific thing. Even if it's time to die, Islam will tell you that لا يموتن أحدكم إلا ويحسن الظن بالله. If you are dying, nobody should be dying except while having good assumptions and good thoughts about Allah. Do not die even if it's a very horrible thing to happen to anybody. But as you are dying, have only good thoughts about Allah and hope for good things. Inshallah, Allah is taking me to Jannah, and now angels are coming to take me, and so on. That's what the Prophet said. Have good hopes and good thoughts as you are dying. Generally speaking, that was like a journey of everybody with Islam, or Islam with everybody, where Islam will be giving you in every part of your life, in every phase in your life, will give you something good for you. Now, let's talk generally. What else does Islam give the community in general, or everybody? Well, Islam will teach us al-kulliyat al-khams. Islam and the religion came to teach us 5 overall rules. All the rules of Islam will be about this. Number 1, protection of 5 things. Protection of 5 things, and these are the most important things that Islam came to nurture and protect. Number 1, an-nafs, or the soul. Islam came to protect soul. That's why if somebody kills, he should be killed. Or if somebody, that's if it's done perpetually or intentionally. But if somebody kills even mistakenly, he still has to pay so big amount of money because Islam came to protect an-nafs. Anything that affects the life, Islam will prohibit it. And he said in the Quran, whoever kills one, it's as if he kills humanity. Whoever gives life to one, cause somebody to live or make his life, it's as if he gives life to everybody. So Islam came to protect number 1, what? The self, the soul, the nafs. Number 2, al-aql. Al-aql is the mind. Islam came to protect mind. Anything that affects mind is haram in Islam. Khamr or wine, that affects the mind. It covers the mind. Haram. One of the major things, sins in Islam. Anything, drugs, even though it's not mentioned, but anything that affects the mind, that will be haram, illegal in Islam. Anything. Al-mal, the property, anything that affects the property, like stealing, cheating, whatever, you cannot take the property of others, money of others, except in a legal way. That's why theft is haram in Islam, is illegal in Islam. And nasl, Islam came to protect nasl, or the lineage, or offspring, or children. That's why you cannot commit abortion, for example. You cannot, anything that affects this, the tubes, you cannot tie the tubes. One of the major sins, you cannot do that. What deen? Islam came to protect the deen. Some scholars put it as number 1. But if you don't have nafs, if you don't have aql, if you don't have all of these, you will not have deen. Because deen, will not be there unless we have a human being who is alive and who is, all of these things will be protected for him. So anything that affects the deen, like superstitions, innovations, is illegal in Islam. All of these, superstitions it's a big business, not only in Islam, everywhere. People play in the mysterious things and sell people some mysteries, like people who predict the end of time or whatever, or anything of these mysteries. Islam is so simple, so clear, so easy. Allah is one, He is your creator. He is the one who creates everybody, worship Him. As simple as this. So anything that affects the deen will be illegal, because Islam came to protect these 5 overall things. What are these again? Everybody mention one, please. Raise your hand. Yes? Nafs of soul.
Number 2,
Aql or mind. Property. Deen, that's 4 now. 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the 5th? The lineage or the offspring or something. Now, general rules for my life and your life to make things easy and to make our life even better. The Prophet ﷺ, one day, a person, what did you say, alayhi salatu wassalam? Send peace and blessing to the Prophet. That's better than anything else. Better than making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to say, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik alayhi wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or peace be upon him. This. So every time you hear his name, the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Dakhil, the miserly, is the one that hears my name, I am mentioned in front of him, and he is miser not to say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, not to send peace and blessings to me. So will you be miser? No, you're not. You're generous. And Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? Easy to say. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. One day a person asked him, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let's please repeat it and make it a habit every time you hear his name, alayhi sallallahu wa sallam. لا تجعلوا دعاء الرسول بينكم كدعاء بعضكم بعضا. Allah told us in the Quran, do not call the Rasul, the messenger, between you just as you call one another. Muhammad, Ali, Hiba, Noah. But no, it doesn't go this way. This is a messenger of Allah. When he talk, mention his name in a respectful way. So Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one day a person asked him, Ya Rasulullah, Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, give me an advice, piece of advice. What did he say? It happens many times, but there was a specific